So guys, here we need to add 2 disks to each ESXi host. In so first of all, we need to 100% make sure where we are adding the disk. Sometimes we make a mistake by adding a disk on VS. You don't need to add disks here, but actually you need to add disks on your ESXi host. So I'm going to go to my ESXi host first, and here I'll go to settings of this VM, and from here I'm going to add. So here it shows me only one disk, and I'm going to add another disk. Let's have smaller disks. You can have bigger disks as well, but in our case, just for practice, so we'll go with just basic default options. You don't need to select anything specific. This is a new virtual disk, and from here I'm just creating a new disk for 10 GB. So this is a 10 GB. And also you need to remember this disk that we add from VMware Workstation, these are all thin provisioned by default. So you're adding a disk 10 GB on this. Second, I'm going to add a second disk as well. So now you have a second disk. Guys, the thing here we need to remember, as soon as you add a disk to ESXi host, it won't automatically appear in ESXi host configuration. Now, since this ESXi host does not have any services console from where you can see, manage, configure the disk, the disk formatting and disk usage is all done from VS Client. So now the only thing I needed to do from ESX side was adding the disk, and then I can go into VS Client, and within VS Client, what was my control panel in VS? The configuration tab. So if you're connected to ESXi host and go to configuration tab, and we added a disk, so we need to right jump on to storage. So there is something called storage in configuration. So in configuration, it is called a storage, and in storage, I only can see one storage, that is data store 1. Guys, one more time. So all I did was adding 2 disks here, and then I need to go to vSphere client, and within vSphere client, I need to go into the host, then configuration, then storage, and within storage, I can see that it has only one data store. The 2 disks doesn't appear in this. If I go to devices right beside storage, if I go to devices right beside storage, it just shows me that which devices are physically attached to this. So it shows me it has CD-ROM and it has one disk attached to it. Now, if I go to data stores, so within data stores, so configuration, storage, data store, here all I need to do add a storage. Once you go add a storage, here it asks you, do you need to add a disk or a logical unit number? So we need to add a disk. We don't have a shared network at the moment. We are only adding a disk. So you go next, and here it should be able to show you the disks that are newly added, but they are not here. So this is what I wanted to show you, that those disks not automatically appear in this. So what you need to do is, first of all, you need to do scan or rescan all. So here it goes back, you select rescan all, and at this point it is rescanning your complete ESXi host. It has rescanned it, so you rescan it, and now you go back to add storage, and then go here. Now you should be able to see both disks. So one disk, both disks are 10 GB. So you need to do a rescan, then add storage. Sometimes you start with add storage and you'll be panicked right away. Oh, I've added the disk, but I don't see it. So you need to scan it and then see the disk. Now I'm going to select the first disk. So all we did was went into settings and added the disk, yes. And secondly, we went into configuration, storage, and we just ran rescan all. So rescan all, it would just go and scan its hardware and bring whatever it finds new. Okay. And then once this is done, all I need to do, go to add storage, and now I can select one of the disk and format it. So as soon as you select one of the disks and then click next on this disk, it is asking you that do you need the older format or the newest format. So the newest one is VMFS5, older one is VMFS3. Now in newest version, you have a support for 2 GB plus 2 TB plus support, whereas previous version does not have 2 TB plus support. So in this case, you have, so we're going to select latest. Now the question here is, in which cases would you need to select previous? Guys, in some cases, when you're bringing VMs from an older storage, from let's say 3.x or 4.x vSphere, then you need to create a previous storage so that those files are compatible with the storage. In our case, we are only using the latest version, so you don't need to pick up the previous version. This is just for backward compatibility. And next, here it is just showing you that I'm going to add partition 10 on this, and then next. And here it is asking you for the name. And we can use a default name. Let's say if the default name can be data store 2, you can say it's a data store 2, or you can call it anything else as well. For example, if this is the place where you're going to copy all your images, so I can say this is my this is a place for my ISOs. So this is my ISO images. So this disk I'm going to use for ISO. Or in your case, if it can be for backups, you can use it for backups or for any other thing. This is just a label. And once you go next, here it's saying, do you want to format this with the maximum capacity, or do you want to create two partitions of this disk? So here, if you wanted to create two partitions, you can divide it into two or go with maximum capacity. So once you go with maximum capacity, all it does right here on recent task, it shows you that it is creating a data store and it has created a data store. And then you can right click on this and browse, and it shows you an empty data store. Guys, it just created one disk. The second disk you still have to do. So I'm going to repeat the same thing. Go to add storage. So it created the first one, and I'm going to go to the second one. Go to add storage. Go to disk. And in this case, I'm going to add the disk and click next. Select the file system and then next, finish. And this one, let's say this is my backup location. So backup storage. This is my backup storage. You can name it anything. By default, if you go, you will go with data store 1, 2, and 3. So this is my backup. It will be formatted with full capacity, and this is how we add a disk. Now, once you add a disk, let's say if I need to create a new VM, and then save it in one of these storage. So now let's create a VM. So my work is done here for disk. So for disk, one more time, what I did, I went into settings, I added two disks, then I went into VS, and here I went into configuration, storage, rescan them, add storage, name them, I can see different storage. Now guys, let's create a new VM in backup storage. So let's right click on a host and then create a new VM. Right click on a host and create a new VM. And when you're creating a new VM, guys, this time let's go with custom settings and not typical settings. So in custom settings, as you can see, as soon as I change from custom to typical, it adds some more options. So it would ask you some extra questions about CPU, virtual machine version. Here, let's name it VMBK1. So this is in the backup storage. So this VM is specially for backup. So this is CANF BK1, backup 1. Now let's save it in backup storage. So backup storage is selected by default because it's the first one. It is sorted by alphabets. And next, here it's saying that which version do you want. So latest version is 8, and previous 4.0 was 7, and 3.0 was 4. So here 3.0, 3.5 versions are these. Backup storage. And then, so we're going to select latest storage, latest version. Every Windows version will be exactly the same. And then here it's saying how many CPUs and how many sockets do you need. We're going to go with the default. We're not going to increase CPUs. Memory, it automatically takes 4 GB and it is 10 provisioning. So it won't take more than, it is maximum 4 GB. You can go with minimum 512 MB as well. And then next here, the network card. So VM network is a switch or it's a port group. Question. It's a switch or a port group. It's a port group. VM network that you see there, guys, remember from this diagram, VM network is a port group. It's not a switch. It is sitting inside vSwitch 0. So when it selects here on VM network, what type of port group do you want to connect this VM with? So it is with this. When we later on create more port groups, we can have different selection. Yes. So these are network cards. These are network cards. So by default, it automatically takes E1000. You can go with VMX Net 2, VMX Net 3. They have just different speeds. So nowadays we are using 1 gig network card. If you need more than that, you can go with 2 gig network card with the enhanced network card. But guys, if you select this, then your infrastructure should be 2 gigs as well, or your infrastructure should be according to whatever speed you are selecting. So that is why VM automatically selects a network card. For us, it is E1000. And next, it is asking for us what type of SCSI controller do we need. We'll leave it for default. In storage, we're going to learn that what is a SCSI controller and how they are used. So this is called SCSI controller. We're not. Now, why are we asked so many questions? Because here it is custom setting. So which means if ever you need to bring a previous VM into your environment, then you need to go with custom settings, because this is only where it asks you the version of VM. And next, here it's asking us thin provisioning, which provision. We should remember what type of provision it is. So we're going to go with this. For now, it is asking, do you want to store it in a virtual machine, or do you want to store it in somewhere else? If we would have had a cluster of data stores, then you had the option to do this. For now, we don't have a cluster, because the cluster option only comes with vCenter. Once we install vCenter, we're going to create a cluster, then we can make use of next option. And here, why is it giving me this error message? Because it is 10 GB. So guys, this is called resource overcommitment. This is called resource. You are trying to commit more resource what is available. Although VM will let you do it, but then when it asks for more, it won't have it. It would give you error message at that time. So for now, you can go with it. But here, I'm gonna make this machine 3 GB. So just 3 GB of this machine. And then next, here it's just again telling me which controller do you want to connect to. Question? No, we changed it to thin provisioning. Here? Okay. Before it was a default screen. It was default setting. So it's just a new. Or you can use an existing virtual disk as well. If you copied the disk from some other host and you need to connect it to this VM, it can be done as well. You can bring the virtual disk from another, VMDK file, remember? So you can have VMDK file from another machine, just copy in this, create a machine and connect that VMDK file in this option. You can say, I don't want to create a new virtual disk, but I need to connect this VM to an existing virtual disk. So it can be done from here. Or you can even say, I don't need a disk with this VM. So you can go with this and later on create a virtual disk. So for now, we're just going with this and next, and it shows you the complete summary and finish. Now, just to verify where the machine is sitting, so we can go to VM backup storage, right click, go to browse data store, and here you can see this VM is created. And guys, now let's see a difference of running VM and switched off VM. If it is switched off, you can see only these files. So there is VMX, VMDK, VMXF, VMSD file, and when you run a VM, it automatically creates some more files. So here, power on this VM, and now go back to the storage. So here, it will create some more files, some log files, some other helping file that it needs. But as soon as you shut it down, it will also remove some additional files that are not required. But this is exactly how it does in VMware Network.